So hello YouTube, welcome back to another Market Outlook series video. I hope you guys had an incredible week. I mean, me personally, I had a great week. It was consistent as the other ones. We actually had some nice moves in the market. We actually caught some really nice trades. I actually had a very good one on GU, which was 1 to 80 risk to reward ratio. I'm thinking if I should make a video on that. So if you guys actually want a breakdown on that trade, make sure you actually say something on the comments. So yeah, I had a really nice trade on GU. Actually, if you go to the YouTube community, you'll be able to see the trade there with the MT5 attached to it. So I mean, this has just been an incredible month so far, and I hope you guys are also having a great month. So without further ado, let's get right into the outlook. So Euro USD, we can start from the monthly time frame. As we have actually previously discussed, price actually tapped this yearly bullish order block. But when we look at the monthly time frame, we can clearly see that the structure is still bearish, right? Because previously we had this high and then this low. Price had broken structure right here to the upside. So this was the demand reaction at this point of interest. But then what happened? Once price comes back to the order block, our expectation is to see price to continue to push the move to price to the upside, right? We expect price to continue all the way to the upside and then, violating the previous high. But what happened? Price actually failed to create a high. So this is what we consider high reluctance. Is price actually failing to create another high? So this low fails to do its job, which was to break the previous high. It became weak. Price actually broke all the way to the downside, but it broke towards this this yearly bullish order block. So for my yearly time frame, actually our outlook on USD is very bullish, right? But on the monthly, the structure is still bearish. Now price actually, if we use the Fibonacci, for example, all the way from this previous low all the way to the high, we can see the price actually has gone above 50%, which actually is a very good premium zone for sales, right? So price actually came into this supply zone that is sitting right here above 50% of Fib. So if you drop down to the daily time frame, so if we look at the daily time frame, we can clearly see that on the daily, the structure overall is still bullish, right? Because we had this break of structure, mitigation, then second break, mitigation, and then the third break of structure right here. So the structure is relatively bullish on the daily time frame. Now our expectation, because price actually tapped this supply zone, of course we was going to have some sort of reaction. Now the outlook from the daily actually is to see price coming all the way down to this daily bullish order block, and then we may see if price is going to continue to move to the upside, violating this supply zone. So for that, we need to drop down to 4 hour, because once you have the daily range high and low, especially on the daily structure, you want to be able to see, okay, what are the signs that will tell me that the daily is doing a pullback? So that sign you'll be able to see on the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, we need to see the change of character and then the second break of structure, which will confirm that bearish order flow. And that will be the daily pullback, right? So if you drop down, for example, to the 4 hour time frame, we can clearly see that price actually gave us that change of character, right? Once price tapped this monthly supply zone right here, we can see that we previously had this high and then we swing low, price created this high, and then price actually broke this structure. So price broke, we can see that price came, mitigated the supply zone that was responsible for the break of that previous low, and continued to push to the downside aggressively, right? So we can see right here that the sign on the 4 hour was already, it was given, very clearly, right? And now we're seeing price actually coming to the downside. Now, what are the zones that we may see that are more likely to have a reaction? Well, we have this one right here above, which has imbalances actually below it. This actually is a very good zone, but we may actually have some sort of reaction in this buy to sell week right here, because this actually was the decisional buy before the sell that finally took out this low. So there may be a reaction here. We don't know if it's gonna hold or not, and price may want to come all the way to the upside. I'm sorry, price may want to come all the way to the upside. But also there is a possibility that price may not pull back all the way up here and may just continue from these zones all the way to the downside. So if you drop down, for example, to M15, time frame, we can see that the structure right here is also bearish, right? So we can see the alignment of the M15 with the 4 hours. So 4 hours bearish, M15 is also bearish. So we had this break of structure, price mitigated supply zone, and then it gave us the second break of structure with body closure right here, right? So price now came back into this supply, and something very important is that we had liquidity grab right here, right? So this actually is a very, very important confluence that we want to see. Price actually taking out liquidity and then break structure and then comes back to this point of interest. So our expectation is to see price actually from this point drop all the way down to that daily demand zone sitting below, or we may see price violating all this previous high, and then we have price going all the way to the 4 hour, right? So that's it for USD. Soon as the market open, we will monitor this supply zone to see what's going to be the reaction. Will price drop all the way down from this point all the way to the daily demand zone below, or if price will break these previous highs and go all the way to the 4 hour and then we drop, right? So that's it for Euro USD. Let's move to the next page. Now, New Zealand dollar is very clear. The outlook is very clear from the monthly time frame. We've seen it, multiple times, but it's always good to do a quick refresh. So if we look at the monthly, we can clearly see that the structure is absolutely bearish, right? Break of structure, price came back to the extremity of this previous high, and now we're seeing price pull back all the way down. So our expectation is to see price to take out this monthly low and maintain the bearish of the flow. Then we drop down to the weekly because we want to understand the price action within that monthly range. So we see that price actually broke a structure, came back all the way up to this extreme, and then we had the change of character right here, 2 breaks of structures. Price now came to the extreme right here at this point of interest. So this one actually is a daily supply zone. Right here, as you guys can see, we had the last down candle before the up move, right? This was pretty much the decisional supply zones that were responsible for the break, right? The catalyst moves that were responsible for the break of this previous low, right? And now price just took out all this liquidity that was sitting here, and we're seeing the price actually coming down. Now, once price actually had given this actually happened on the 4 hour, so we dropped down to 4 hour. So if we look at the 4 hour, price actually gave us this change of character right here. So we push all the way to the downside, and now we made this huge comeback all the way to the extremity of that previous high. And now we actually seeing price coming all the way down here. Now we have this demand zone right here because this actually was a break of structure on the 1 hour. So it's more likely to have a significant reaction. So price just tapped that demand zone. And if we look at what's going on here, price actually had grabbed liquidity right here. It failed to close above, so this was a good liquidity grab, and then pushed immediately to the downside. So this is considered a strong high. We're expecting price to come all the way to the supply zone. We'll wait for M15 change of character, and then we sell all the way down, because we know that the monthly, weekly, and daily, everything is bearish, right? So we can see that on the 4 hour, everything is also bearish. Now, this right here, we have a reaction. As price comes here, is already tapped here. This is a 4 hour. So what I will do, I will drop down to M15. As an intraday scalper trader, I will want to see at least an M15 change of character to the upside, which will give me that confirmation that, okay, we may have that bullish pullback all the way to our 4 hour supply zone sitting above. So if you look at the M15, we can clearly see that the structure overall is still bearish right here. We had this previous low, high, low, right? So price actually reacted at this supply zone right here, and we can see this reaction. So there is a possibility that we may see price coming all the way to the upside, breaking this previous high right here. And that's when I want to see my first change of character. So this will be the first sign of bullish intention that we're about to have that 4 hour pullback all the way to our 4 hour supply zone sitting above, right? So that's it for Aussie dollar. Next page. GBP USD, we can use the monthly time frame. The monthly time frame is pretty clear as far as we can see. We had this break of structure, mitigation, then we had the second break of structure. Price came back to the point, to the supply zone right here, and we can see this wick right here. This actually is a very good reaction at this supply zone. So that just shows us how significant this supply zone is, right? So once price comes here, we can drop down to the daily time frame. If we look at the daily, overall the daily is still bullish, right? Daily time frame is absolutely bullish up to this point, so we don't have yet a sign for long-term sales. Although this week I actually had a lower time frame sell. It was based on the hourly pullback along with M15 all the way to lower time frames, but it was a pullback all the way down to this 4-hour demand zone right here that we have. So if I drop down to 4-hour, we can see the price tapped this bullish order block, last down candle before the up move, so we're more likely to have a reaction to the upside. Now if the daily is going to hold, most likely this point of interest may hold, and we may want to see at least an hourly change of character to the upside, because this actually is a daily 4-hour order block demand zone. So if I come, for example, to 1 hour, we can see that the structure overall is still bearish, right, up to this point, because we had this break of structure right here. So this was the break of structure to the downside. So let me just put boss right there, and we have this extreme supply zone right here, which is quite significant. So we will be monitoring what's going to happen once price comes all the way to the supply zone. Will it break? Will it respect the supply zone and we have the continuation to the downside, or if it will break above the previous high? If it breaks, that will be the first sign of bullish intention that maybe the daily demand zone, this demand zone, is going to hold, and we may see GU continue all the way to the upside. But from the monthly, the outlook is bearish, so we expect to sell on a long term, right? So that's it for GU. Let's move to the next pair. New Zealand dollar, we can look at it quickly from the monthly time frame, and we will see that, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, the price action, and the intention is very clear that it's bearish. We had the break, mitigation, the second break, mitigation. Now we see this huge push to the downside. So our expectation is to see price taking out this low right here, and we have that continuation to the downside. Bearish order flow should be maintained, right? So we drop down to the weekly time frame. We want to understand what's going on within that monthly range. So price came to the extremity of this supply zone. It had a high, low, and then it tried to create a high. Actually violated the previous high, but it failed to close above. As we know, this is a sign of bullish sentiment in the market in depletion, right? Once price fails to close above a previous high with a body, that is a good sign that the bullish sentiment in the market is depleting and sellers are stepping into the markets. So then we had this relative equal highs. Price actually came, grabbed liquidity, and we're seeing this V-shaped recovery right here, which is aggressive in and out, right? So we can see that this was a great liquidity grab, and now we see price coming aggressively all the way to take out these lows. That's the main outlook from the weekly. So we come to the daily time frame, right? Price just had grabbed liquidity, pushed to the downside. So once this actually, it was a refined daily point of interest. So once price comes here, we want to monitor the 4-hour bearish order flow all the way down, right? Because that's what we expect, especially as an intraday trader. So we come down to the 4-hour. We can see the price had broken this structure, pulled back, second break, pulled back into the POI. Then we had the third break right here. So if you look at the third break, we still have some sort of, I mean, this point of interest, which is quite significant, this one right here. So there is a possibility that price may want to pull back all the way up to this supply zone, but we also can't ignore these decisionals, these very recent breaks of structures. So if you come to the 1 hour time frame, let me push this to the right here, we can see that we have this point of interest sitting right here. Now, this actually can be a zone that price may actually have a reaction here. We don't know if price will hold, if this supply zone is going to hold, but our expectation is to see price come here, and then we have the drop, or price can just have a reaction and continue to pull back all the way to this supply zone, and then we have that push to the downside. So that's what we're going to wait for next week when the market opens. So that's it for New Zealand dollar. Let's move to the next pair. Now, UJ, we can quickly look at the weekly time frame. The weekly time frame is absolutely bullish, right? I mean, we can see the break, pull back, second break, price came aggressively, used this previous structure low as inducement, right? So trapped a lot of people that had orders here, came, grabbed liquidity, started to push to the upside. So once price tapped the monthly, this weekly demand zone, we dropped down to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, we can clearly look that price actually had given this change of character, pulled back for the mitigation. We had the second break of structure right here, all the way to the upside. Now, the main outlook actually is to see UJ coming all the way down to this demand zone, because we have loads of imbalances sitting below. So we expect UJ to come to this daily demand zone, and then we have that continuation to the upside, because that's the main outlook from the weekly. Now, if we drop down to the 4 hour, we can see price actually had broken. It gave this change of character right here, this strong break to the downside. Now, if we use the fib, for example, from this low all the way to this previous high, we can see the price just went above 50%, which is now around now is at the premium zone for sales, right? So if we drop down, for example, to the 4 hour, I believe the 8 hour is much better, so let me just use the 8 hour. We can see that on the 8 hour we have this less up bullish candle before this down move right here, right? So we expected, I'm still expecting to see some reaction at this point of interest. I will monitor once price comes to this 4 hour supply zone. I will monitor the M15 and M30. I want to see a change of character on the M30 to the downside, and then we can sell it on the lower time frames all the way down to the daily, right? So this is how you establish the higher time frame intention on a pair. Understand the higher time frame all the way to medium time frame before you drop down to lower time frames. So we had the change of character. We above 50% premium zones for sales. We can look at this supply zone, monitor the reaction on M15 and M30 for sales, right? So that's it for you, Jay. Let's move to the last pair. So our last pair is going to be gold. We can quickly look at the weekly time frame, and we can see that, I mean, gold had broken structure. I mean, had this break of structure to the upside, mitigation, second break, right? So we pretty much still trading. If we look at the swing structure, we're still trading within this range, high, low, right? I mean, we had this high, low, and then this high. So we're trading within this range right here. So all this price action that is happening here is what we call internal structure price action, right? So a lot of things is going on in that range. Now our expectation is, okay, price actually grabbed all this liquidity, pulled back into this demand zone, and then we had this strong push to the upside, pulled back, second break. So our expectation is to see gold coming all the way to this demand zone right here, and then we take out this relative equal highs and we have the continuation to the upside, right? That's the main intention. That's the main high time frame intention of gold. So once we can see that we had this break, this actually is the weekly demand zone. So what do we need to see on the lower time frame that will confirm that, okay, weekly is ready, is doing a pullback all the way to the downside? We need to drop down to the daily. We need to find daily on a bearish order flow. So when we look at the daily, we can see that we had this previous high, change of character, right? Price came, break, mitigation, second break. Price now came to the extreme right here. Now we can see that price actually failed to close above this previous structure high on the daily. So this actually was a good confirmation that, okay, price actually is rejecting higher prices, bullish sentiment in the market depleting, and then bears actually stepping into the markets. So we have this strong push. We drop down to the 4 hour. We want to understand, okay, what went on right there. So we can see that, okay, we had this change of character right here. So let me just put the boss right here. So break, price actually pulled back into this buy to sell wick right here, and then price came all the way down to this demand zone. So my expectation is to see price from this zone start to pull back all the way to the upside, and we can't forget that we had another break of structure here. So let me just consider this right here was the second break of structure to the downside right here. Now we have a point of interest sitting right here above, because we also have imbalances, so we expected to see a pullback towards this supply zone. So if I come down, for example, to the 1 hour time frame, just real quick, we can see right here that we had this break, and this right here was the decisional buy before the sell. That's why when price broke structure, price came back immediately to retest, right, to mitigate this demand, this supply zone, and then we broke structure to the downside. So my expectation is after price just gave this very nice reaction at this demand zone, is to see price pulling back all the way down to this supply zone, and then we have that continuation to the downside towards our weekly demand zone, right? So if we look down, for example, to M15, let's just quickly drop down to M15, we can see that the structure of overall is still bearish, right? We had this previous low, this high, and then this low right here. So we expect price to take out this high and then come all the way to this supply zone, so then we can look for sales on lower time frame, right? So I hope I made the point clear, guys. If you like the video, right, make sure you smash the like button for me. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for more content. And guys, don't forget, we have the 2 months membership on the Califax mentorship. So if you're interested in it, feel free to let me know. My contact is in the description box below, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one.